Hi everyone, good evening and welcome to our Introduction to Accountancy Apprenticeships webinar. It's really great to have you join us this evening. I'll just do a quick introduction as people are joining. So my name is Anna Haddon-Blackwell. I am the Early Careers Lead here at Bishop Fleming. I'm really thrilled to welcome you to this webinar this evening. I am joined by some of our wonderful partners, one of our lovely apprentice leads and some of our current apprentices. So over the course of the webinar this evening, we are going to be introducing you to our firm, to Bishop Fleming, to the core service lines that we offer and what it could look like if you were to join us in any of those departments. We'll also give you an insight into the apprenticeship opportunities that we have on offer, focusing primarily on our school leaver opportunities, but we will definitely touch on the other opportunities as well, and there are quite a few similarities as we'll cover during the webinar. We'll be highlighting the support that's available to you if you join us as a trainee and be kind of demonstrating how the qualification works and the development opportunities and training opportunities that there are. And then you'll also have the opportunity to hear from some of our current apprentices about what their journeys have looked like since they joined the firm and how they've chosen this route, etc. And then we'll close with a Q&A. So if there's anything that you would like to ask, either jot it down or put it into the Q&A function, and we will cover that later in the webinar. We are recording this webinar, but that shouldn't be an issue for anyone joining if your cameras are not on. But if you want to kind of catch up with anything that we've covered or go back through anything, we will be uploading it to our socials in due course, so you can revisit everything that we talk about. So I will just give maybe another minute for people to join before I hand over. Okay, so firstly, I would like to pass to Ria Burridge, who is our Head of Audit and one of our Bristol office leads. And Ria is going to introduce our firm and what working in audit looks like. So thank you very much, Ria.
Thank you very much, Anna. So I really want to just talk to you today around Bishop Fleming and what Bishop Fleming looks like as an overall firm to begin with. So in terms of size, we're a fair size now. So we're about 550 people in total. And of that, about 47 of those people are partners. The rest are, we've got quite a lot of apprentices who come in. Every year we take about 75 apprentices, and that's split between graduates and school leavers. But we have that volume coming through year after year, which really makes it a really vibrant place to work. Now, that 550 people is split over 9 of our offices. We've got 9 offices across mainly the southwest corridor. So our most northern office and newest office is Birmingham, and we go all the way down to Truro. You can see on this slide here that lists out the 9 offices, and you see that they pretty much follow. Our patch in the north is very much the Birmingham, Cheltenham and Worcester offices, and then we have Bristol, Bath in the middle, and then as you go down south you have Plymouth and Truro and Exeter and Torquay. Other things I wanted just to let you know about today was our international reach. So we're a member of the Creston Network firm, and what that means is that if we want to do international work, so within Bishop Fleming, we only operate in the UK. We advise our clients on UK audit, tax, accountancy. But if we want advice for clients who might want to have that international reach and international expansion, we can use our Creston network to allow us to do that. So, for example, if someone is wanting to set up in the US or Australia, we can reach out to our Creston network and they can help us in terms of advising, which really, really helps with that client service. The other piece I wanted just to talk through was this continued growth piece you can see at the bottom. So year on year, we've grown really significantly over the last few years, and we're continuing to grow now. And what that means is it's just a really exciting place to be. There's lots of things going on in the firm, lots of opportunity. It really allows those apprentices who come through to have the greatest opportunity they possibly can. And it's just a really vibrant place to work. Alongside that, we have a really strong responsible business strategy. And for those of you who've looked a little bit more into Bishop Fleming, you'll see our recent impact report that we've released. And we've released that for the last few years now. That covers a number of things. It very much is, we really enjoy being out in the community and really settling into the communities where we have our offices. But also we like to help our employees by really supporting well-being and also I&D as well, and really making sure that we really have a really inclusive environment in terms of the way we work. The final thing I think I wanted to draw out from this slide is really around, we work in lots of different sectors, and I'm not going to really go into all the sectors today, but we are leaders in a number of our fields. And so really wanting to pull out the academy sector. We're currently in the academy season at the moment, and we service more academies than anyone else in the UK. We are #1 firm in terms of what we offer in that area. What that leads on to then is just the number of awards we've won. So we've done really well in the award stakes, and we have done over the last few years. We win a number in terms of best firm, and also we win an awful lot for our apprenticeship and what we deliver across the apprenticeship. So we have regular Ofsted inspections as well, because we run our own apprenticeship, and that's been outstanding through the last inspection. So if we move on to the next slide, the next slide talks around how we run the firm and how we live on a day-to-day basis. So in terms of, these are our values that you see here on the screen, and overriding that is our ambition. And the ambition across the whole firm is to be the most rewarding firm for our clients, our people, and our communities. And then the values sit underneath that. So what they really do is really guide us in terms of how we can operate and how we deal with certain situations. So what you'll see from here is there's obviously 5 different values. The thinking client's a really, really important one. That's really about us putting ourselves in our client's shoes, so trying to think in the same way as they do. The working as one team is also really, really key. What you'll hear when we speak about what we do in the service lines a little bit more is pretty much everything we do here is as a team. You aren't ever left exposed by yourself. You're always working along like-minded individuals. As our apprentices come through and develop, they all support each other. So as you progress and move up grades, you also continue to support the people who are coming in below you. And that's a really nice thing about working at Bishop Fleming. The courage to be different. The thing I probably want to draw out from here most of all is around Workday, a system that we've put in recently. That was a really big investment for us, and it's doing things differently to other accountancy firms out there. And what it really does, it puts everything on one platform and brings everything together, so we can see the most information possible to us to make the right decisions, and really helps us in terms of moving forward as a firm. Okay, if we move on to the next slide, I think the next one is more just around our services. So I wanted to put this up here just so you can really see the scale of the services that Bishop Fleming can offer. Now today you're going to hear from 3 of us talking about our core service lines. I'm going to be there talking about audit, which encompasses the external audit, internal audit that you can see on the screen there. Len is then going to talk around tax, quite a lot of those, mainly some of the middle ones and some of the ones at the top as well are relating to our tax services. And then Dan is going to be talking around accountancy, which is some of the top ones as well. Alongside all that, and the service lines you're not going to hear about today are more around things like our advisory department. That's our corporate finance piece, where they might do acquisitions, the funding advice, that sort of advice. Now you tend to not go straight into that from an apprenticeship position. You tend to qualify and then move into that via secondment or during your time in your apprenticeship. So that's why we're not going to spend too much time talking about those areas today, but I just wanted to put this slide up there so you can just see the scale of what we do and the services that we cover. Okay, so if we move on then just to talking around pure audit, I just wanted to give you a little bit of background as to what audit feels like and what it looks like within Bishop Fleming. So as I say, we're over 9 offices, and we actually have audit representation in all of our offices. The audit headcount, so out of the 550 people that you saw on one of the earlier slides, about 260 of those people are actually audit employees, as I say, spread across those 9 offices. So what that means is that audit currently makes up just over half of the firm in terms of revenue as well. Now, what we tend to see is that most of our apprentices do come into the audit service line, and the reason why they do that is because audit actually gives that really good solid training ground. It allows you to really understand business, and you'll understand business because of the way it operates and the way you actually conduct your work. So the reason for an audit, if you go back to basics, is what we're trying to do when we go out to perform the audit is basically check the books and records to ensure that materially the numbers in there are correct, so that they're correct to a threshold. And you do that for the purpose of shareholders and other related parties. Now, in terms of what we do, in terms of the sectors that we operate in and the areas we look at, At Bishop Fleming, we don't tend to work on any listed entities, but what we tend to do is work quite a lot in the mid-market. So that's with owner-managed businesses. So really working very closely with those owners and really understanding what drives them. So that's a really exciting part of the role. In addition to that, we do a lot of work in the not-for-profit sector. So the academies I've already mentioned, us being the market leaders in that sector, but also a lot of charities, public sector work, further education. And we also do a lot of work around internal audit as well. And then overlaying that, they're not listed entities, but we do some larger audits as well, which are overseas sort of parent entity. We're an overseas parent, we're doing the subsidiaries and also some PE-backed businesses, and just might be more complex in nature. Any of those pieces of work, though, will all be done. You work in a team, you will go out to either a client site, so you might visit them when you're conducting that engagement and go out as a team to visit and then speak to the client and engage with them, which is where the business piece comes in and how you learn more about business. Or if you're not doing that, you might be working from the office still as a team, but you might be calling client, exchanging emails with them, uploading things through various portals. So we work in different ways, but one of the expectations I think of people who come into audit is there will be an element of travel, an element of going out to see clients. And if I'm honest about it, that is one of the most fun things about the job in terms of going out and sitting with clients in their business, really understanding, getting to look around their sites and really understand the business more. In terms of other bits I thought would be worth highlighting with audit is a lot of the training that you will do is on the job. So you will learn how to audit just through us obviously providing training to you, but also a lot of it will be on the job, learning from the people who came before you. Everyone who joins the firm gets a buddy assigned to them, and that buddy will really help you in terms of your development, in terms of how you settle into role. And that will be alongside your first intuition training, which I'm sure you'll hear about a little bit more as we go on into this session. So everyone has a growth coach as well, and that growth coach will be there to support you in terms of your apprenticeship, set your expectations, and help you as you progress through audit. So with that, I think I'm going to hand over to Len now, who's going to tell you a little bit more about tax.
Thank you, Ria. Yeah, hello everyone. My name's Len. I'm a tax partner at Bishop Fleming. I specialise in VAT for my sins, but I will just tell you a little bit about what we do here with regards to tax. So tax is a very fast-paced, technical and varied service line at Bishop Fleming. We cover all of the main UK taxes and international aspects. And I'd say roughly half of the work we do is tax compliance. So that's helping our clients with their various tax returns, and half is advisory. And that covers all sorts of areas. There's a lot of different taxes in the UK, but also international aspects where we use the Creston network, or we advise clients on international transactions and business operations. Also, we're very happy to say we're an award-winning tax team. We won Best Tax Team at the Tolley's Tax Awards 2025, which is sort of the showcase awards for us in the tax industry. And that's just a really great recognition of the high quality and the excellence of the people we've got here. So I'll just run through the sort of four main areas of tax that we cover as I see it. So the first one is personal tax. So that's like income tax, capital gains, inheritance tax. We help clients stay compliant, ensure that they can benefit from the numerous tax reliefs and allowances that are available. This includes things like wealth and succession planning, international tax advice, pensions planning, HMRC inquiries, property and probate. And working in personal tax, you'll have starting off probably doing a lot of compliance, helping prepare tax returns, and then as you progress, you can get into more of the advisory side and the interesting technical aspects. The second one is corporate tax, so that's essentially business taxes. And so we advise, as Ria mentioned, we mainly our client base is often family and owner managed business and multinationals. Across that range, we provide a full range of corporation tax compliance, reporting and advisory. Another aspect that we do a lot of work in is in research and development tax relief, which is a tax relief for businesses that are investing in developing new ideas and new ways of doing things. We do a lot of work in transactions, so that's mergers, what's called M&A, acquisitions and sales of businesses and corporate reorganisations. So there's a lot of tax work involved in that, advising clients on, looking at what they're buying, checking all the tax has been done correctly so that they can be confident about making an acquisition or on the sales side. And we also do a lot of succession planning, profit extraction, employee ownership and share schemes, which is a highly technical and valuable area of tax advice. Another area that we have a lot of clients in is property, land and property, real estate. It's an area I get involved in a lot. The tax rules, many taxes impact on that area of the work we do. Often very large value properties and developments. So that can be taxes interacting like stamp duty, land tax, corporate tax, personal tax, VAT, my area, and that involves a lot of dealing with solicitors and HMRC filings, quite fast-paced deadlines. And then finally, the fourth area is VAT and indirect taxes, which is my field. And that one's kind of different because it's a tax on the consumption of goods and services. So it's sort of real life, sort of day-to-day transactions. And a lot of my colleagues always joke and say, well, VAT is 20%, which gets funnier every time. But actually, there's a lot of exemptions, a lot of different rates, and we advise clients a lot on whether they need to charge VAT on things, and you've probably heard of things like a lot of VAT complexity in regards to food. You've probably heard of the classic Jaffa cakes being free of VAT, whereas a normal chocolate biscuit isn't. We don't advise that often on specifically things like that, but it's just an indicator that there's quite a lot of complexity, and a lot of it comes on the other side, where we're advising clients, can they recover that? And that's quite often the biggest issue, because there's a lot of circumstances where businesses can't actually recover VAT they've incurred on costs. So that's what my team does. Yeah, like I said, if you join us, you might be a launchpad that rotates through different service lines and spends a bit of time in tax as part of that program, or you can join us straight into tax and train full-time with us in tax with a career plan to then progress in the tax service line. Yeah, and no day is the same. You probably compared to audit, we probably work on loads of clients each week across all sectors. So there's a lot of variety, and it's well suited to people that are technically minded, but are also good with dealing with people and explaining complicated things, but in a way that our clients understand. And yeah, on that point, I think I'll hand over to Dan to talk you through accountancy.
Thanks, Len. I love the way you casually did that with tints around your neck, but didn't mention it once. But anyway, yeah, so my name's Dan. I am a partner in our accountancy team. I'm based in Plymouth. So I actually joined the firm 20 years ago as a school leaver. So I've been through the apprenticeship program here. I mean, it's much better now than it was 20 years ago, but I'm kind of been where you guys are now. So what do we do in accountancy? So the main basis of our team is looking after what we call owner managed businesses. So they tend to be family businesses, small businesses. And when I say small, the current threshold is anything up to a £15 million turnover. So we tend to look at those businesses that are slightly smaller, don't need an audit and don't fit into Ria's team. So they come to us and we do a range of things. The main bit of our work is around accounts, so year-end accounts. So corporate entities have to file year-end accounts at Companies House once a year. So we prepare them for the clients. We will do this from a big range of data. So it could be a client might maintain really good accounting data and they know what their numbers are. They give it to us and we put it into statutory format. It could be that they've got really poor accounting data, don't have a clue what kind of profit they've made. And then when we produce the accounts, we educate them in how much money they've made or what they've lost, and then can advise around that. So that's the main piece of work we do. And then linked to that, we build draft tax computations to give an idea of tax numbers on those results. but then our colleagues in Len's tax team will review them and give them a more technical review. So that's the main thing that we do. We have currently about 1,700 clients across the firm, and they tend to be businesses that are closely located to the different offices. We don't have many clients that are off patch. We do have some where they have relationships with certain partners and people in the offices, but we tend to look after businesses in our community. So myself in Plymouth, 99% of what I do is for local Plymouth businesses. So that's the year-end stuff. We can also do lots of other things. So some clients like to know more regularly what the results are. So we might come in monthly or quarterly and prepare something that we call management accounts. And those accounts give clients a better idea of how they're performing on real time. And those accounts might need to go to the bank, for example, regularly if they're looking to borrow money, or if they have borrowed money and the bank are interested to see how the business is doing to make sure those repayments can be upkept. And we might also do things like go to board meetings, go out to the client and deliver analysis of that data so they have a better understanding of what's happened, why profit's gone up, why it's gone down, those type of things. Something else we might do, we do some very basic VAT compliance, which, going back to Len's analogy, we tend to get involved to make sure those things that are 20% have been recorded at 20% and recorded the right things. Anything more technical goes to the experts in Len's teams, but we will help clients with that reporting. For those of you that don't know, any business that turns over more than £90,000 a year has to do VAT returns. So we will do that for a client if they can't do it themselves. We also do something called company secretarial. So all companies have to keep up their filings with Companies House. And that is basically make sure Companies House are aware of changes in directors, shareholdings, if there's any transfer of ownership, all of that type of thing we can do and look after for a client. And finally, the other thing we really get involved in, and we're doing a lot of this work lately, is what we call digital. So earlier I mentioned that we might look at a client's records and we might be good, and sometimes we might be bad. And what we might do is where a client's got particularly bad records and maybe don't have a good understanding of their profit and results, we can help them put a system in place to make sure that they have a better understanding and use things like AI to do the bookkeeping for them. And it might link to things like till systems and bank accounts to make sure that overall the computers are doing the day-to-day bookkeeping to give them an idea of numbers, and then we might come at the end and use those numbers to turn into the year-end accounts. So in a nutshell, that's what we do. But if I was to summarize it in one line, I think we are very much what we call the trusted advisor to business owners. So they'll come to us with any type of accounting requirements and questions. And over the last month, I've been asked a variety of questions regarding tax, accounting, whatever it be. And it also simple things like, I want to buy a house. What do you think of this house? Because they trust us so much of those kind of decisions. So that's us.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Dan, Len and Ria, for summarising the service lines that we have, and also for talking us through, Ria, what Bishop Fleming is all about. That was really, really brilliant. So I'm going to now talk about the opportunities we have and the recruitment process for joining us as a trainee. So firstly, I know, Ria, briefly you touched on the offices that we have. Just to clarify where we have opportunities for trainees. So we do in the majority of our offices. So again, in the northern patch, it would be Birmingham, Bristol, Cheltenham and Worcester. And then in our southern side of the offices, it would be Exeter, Plymouth and Torquay. So like we mentioned, this webinar is primarily focusing on our school leaver opportunities, but you can see here the opportunities that we have for trainees at all levels. So just to kind of briefly touch on the opportunities for higher education. For university students, if you're looking to do an industrial placement, we offer a one-year programme to come in and join us in audit and gain a year's worth of experience. And that's a really successful pipeline for us for people then returning as graduates. And as a graduate, you can join us and go straight into either accountancy, tax or audit and study towards the ACA or the ACA joint CTA pathway accordingly. But for school leavers, so if you've completed or are completing your A-levels or BTECs, for example, at the moment, and you want to come in and earn while you learn, you can join us as an apprentice. So we've got two programmes, and Len briefly touched on this. One is to join us as a rotating apprentice. So what this means is that for the first 2 years of the 5-year programme, you would gain experience in accountancy audit and the tax teams for about 6 months each. You do kind of a second rotation in one of them as well. And then at the end of the 2 years, having had exposure to all 3 core service lines, you can decide with the business where is right for you to specialise and how you want to start shaping your career. That's a really great way to network with people from across the business and really understand what each of those service lines does and how that fits with the qualification you're studying for. The other opportunity would be to go straight into audit, so spending the full 5 years in audit and studying towards the ACA. So Sophie, one of our apprentice leads, is going to talk after me about what the qualification looks like, how it works with the apprenticeship, the support that we provide, etc. But I just thought this was a really useful visual to show you what the progression pathway can look like from joining us as an apprentice onwards. So this kind of shows a breakdown of the exams as currently stands with the syllabus and how you would start as an associate and then work up to be an executive, and then post-qualification, once you've got your exams under your belt and your experience, you can then be considered for promotions to management and all the way up to partnership. And Dan obviously is a really great example of people in the business who have done that. So I just thought that was something nice to show that although you'd be starting as an apprentice with lots to learn and you know a huge amount of a career in front of you, actually it can definitely take you to really senior levels, which is really exciting. So the application process and recruitment process that we have is outlined here, and we've tried to keep it as streamlined as possible so that we are hiring the right people, but also that you as candidates are engaged in the process and you know find out what you need to know about Bishop Fleming and whether a career in accountancy is right for you. So it would start with an initial online application, very brief, just uploading your CV and answering a few questions around your qualifications at GCSE and A-level, whether that's attained already or predicted, and also university if that applies as a graduate or placement student, and then expressing your preferred office location. Assuming that you meet our initial screen based on a review of your CV and our entry requirements, which I'll come on to, you would be progressed to do some online tests for us. These are gamified style assessments that take about half an hour, and they've been designed to fit really to determine success in the role. So looking at some kind of core skills and qualities such as adaptability, resilience, communication, time management, everything like that, that is really, really key to being successful in this opportunity, because you know it's really important to do well in the day job and build great relationships at work, but you've also got to be able to juggle doing the study alongside. If you were to be successful in the assessments, you would move on to a video interview. This is something that I think fills lots of candidates with fear, and I totally understand why. It's not very nice to just speak into a laptop like I'm doing right now and not be able to see anyone other than yourself and answer some questions and feel under pressure. But something just to reiterate and bust a myth, the video interviews are watched by myself and us as a recruitment team, not by AI. So we will personally review all of the answers and kind of consider what you're saying against the requirements that we have and when reviewing the positions that we're looking for. And then the final stage of the assessment process would be to come in for an assessment centre at your chosen office. That would involve an interview and a case study, but beforehand you would have a prep call with me or one of my colleagues where we'd make really clear to you what to expect when you come in, how you're going to be assessed, what that process looks like and any preparation that you can do, what you don't need to prepare, and really critically, we'll give you feedback from the video interview. So although it's a stressful exercise to go through completing the video interview for lots of people, it's not wasted, and you know we can let you know what you've done well and any areas that you can kind of focus on, whether that's showing your motivation more and coming across as more enthusiastic, or whether it's around how you're structuring your examples, or you know I can help you to look at where on your CV you've got the most transferable and relatable skills that you can talk about in the interview. And obviously, assuming that goes well, that would hopefully lead to an offer and you joining us in September. So just to go through our entry requirements and some really key information, we do have entry requirements. It is a challenging qualification, whether you're doing the ACA or the joint pathway with the CTA and qualifying in tax as well. There's quite a few exams that you'd need to go through over the duration of the years. So that's why we have the requirements that we do. So for GCSE, it would be a 6 or above or in old school terms, a B in maths and English. That can be language or literature. It doesn't matter which one. And then from a further education perspective, it would be 112 UCAS points made up of either A-levels, BTECs, or also we can consider an AAT level 3 as the same level of qualification. For university students, we'd be looking for you to be predicted a 2-2 or above in any degree discipline. And just to say, those 112 UCAS points don't have to be from mathematical or kind of business related subjects. It can be from anything. And as well as the academics, you know, as I've kind of alluded to already, the skills and kind of qualities that you have are really important as well. So being enthusiastic and wanting to learn, whether you come straight into audit or whether you're working in the rotating program in our different service lines, there's a huge amount to learn. There's lots of people to meet and get stuck in. So you've definitely got to have that curiosity and excellent communication skills, because you're going to be speaking to our clients, whether face-to-face or on Teams, and also working really closely with other people in the business, having catch-ups with our apprentice leads, with your line manager, you know, reporting on information to clients. Communication is super important. So when do we recruit? We are live with our applications now, and we are recruiting for positions for school leavers, graduates, and also we have a couple of placement positions left for next September. So if you're in a position where you're looking for next year, now is a great time to apply, and we keep advertising, until we've filled all the positions. If you are joining us today and you're thinking about your career, which is going to be a bit further down the line, we advertise every year. So just keep an eye on our careers website when the time comes. Most of our trainees will join in September. There are sometimes opportunities to start a bit earlier. So if that's something you are open to, that's always something that we will discuss in the process. And just to reiterate, as Sophie will as well, yes, you will gain a qualification. This is an apprenticeship, so you'd be studying towards the ACA. That would be fully funded by us. And if you were in tax, you would also be studying towards the CTA. So I'm now going to hand over to Sophie, who's one of our apprentice leads, and she's going to give you much more information about what you can expect as a trainee with us.
Thanks, Anna. Hi everyone, I'm Sophie, an apprentice lead at Bishop Fleming, and I work within our learning and development team at the firm. And the focus of my role and also our team's role is really looking after our apprentices once they've joined the firm, their programme and their training and development needs over the course of that journey to becoming qualified. So as Anna mentioned, we have a few different programmes that are available to apply for. So that's school leaver, graduate and also placement student opportunities. That qualification that you'd be doing, whether you're a school leaver or graduate, is the same, but how and when you get there on that journey will look slightly different. So the focus of what I'm going to talk about is the level 7 apprenticeship, so that school leaver programme primarily today. But if you are a graduate joining this today and you have any questions, we're happy to answer those during the Q&A part of this webinar too. So our school leaver programme is a level 7 apprenticeship, so that's equivalent to a master's degree, where you'll be working towards becoming a chartered accountant, so that's the ACA qualification, and also a chartered tax advisor, so the CTA qualification if you work in our tax service line. And one of the benefits of being on an apprenticeship programme is a huge focus on reflection, learning and improvement across that duration. So on an apprenticeship, you'll benefit from really regular check-ins and reviews. So monthly check-ins with your manager across the programme, setting those short and long-term goals, and also more formal 12-week reviews aligned with our performance framework, focusing on those expectations, feedback from the work you're doing, and development to help you become the best in your role. So lots of opportunities for tracking your progress and your career progression throughout the programme. As Ria mentioned, we do sit slightly differently compared to other employers with our apprenticeship, because we are an employer provider. So that means that we're not only the employer, but also the training provider for our apprentices. And because of that, we have lots of flexibility in tailoring our programme. So we deliver what we feel is the best for our apprentices, and also what will really help them to thrive within our business and also working with our clients as well. As an employer provider, Ria mentioned, we are regulated by Ofsted, and we did achieve an outstanding rating in 2024, and that was across all of our all the categories, all four. So it's a testament to not only the quality of education that we provide on our programme, but the leadership and management, personal development opportunities, and also the really strong behaviours and attitudes that we see across the firm. So moving on to talk more about the professional study on this next slide. So as an overview, of both of the qualifications that we've mentioned. We just want to touch on this because it is a really significant part of qualification and the programme. We don't directly teach our apprentices the content for the modules that make up the qualification, so that is delivered by our providers that we work really closely with. But it's important that our apprentices are still receiving really great quality tuition and have a great experience as a part of that. So the ACA qualification, which is run by ICAW, is for our audit and accountancy apprentices. So for that qualification, there are 14 papers now split across business, finance and accountancy topics and exams. And then we also have the CTA qualification as well, so that ACA and CTA joint programme. So that looks slightly differently where it is a joint programme. So that consists of fewer, so 13 ACA exams and then an additional 3 CTA exams as well. Because you are working towards 2 qualifications in tax, this route does take slightly longer, so around a year longer to complete and gain both qualifications, but you benefit from a slightly shortened training time by doing a joint programme. So the first CTA paper comes in around halfway through the ACA qualification. So as I mentioned, we don't provide the tuition for these, but we work really closely in partnership with our 2 providers. So for our ACA qualification, that's First Intuition, and they are based in both Bristol and Exeter. And we receive great feedback from our apprentices time and time again around the tutors and the relationships and experiences that they have during that tuition and study. And then we also partner with Tolly. So Tolly are expert tutors in terms of tax for that specialised CTA qualification. Our approach to both of these in terms of study is in-person and classroom tuition, and we're really confident that that provides the best experience possible. So it gives really tailored support in the classroom, also networking opportunities for our apprentices while they're in the classroom, sometimes meeting students at other firms, for example, an opportunity to share learning, and ultimately a really high achievement and pass rate for our apprentices as well. Sometimes that journey to qualification can look slightly different depending, so it's important, and we do acknowledge that and give really tailored support in those circumstances. So sometimes there are personal circumstances or exam failures or any additional needs that require us to work really closely with our apprentices to ensure they're set up for success. So for example, neurodiversity, long-term health conditions, for example, will work really closely with our apprentices as soon as they join to make sure those adjustments are in place in work and also while they're at study and spending a lot of their time in tuition for these qualifications. So moving on, just to talk a bit more about the training that's on our programme. So first of all, it's really important that our apprentices have a great joining experience, and we're really proud of the induction and integration experience that our apprentices receive when joining the firm. So first of all, we typically have an induction week, which is the first week when an apprentice joins, and they'll join alongside the whole of the cohort, so a large cohort as Ria mentioned, and typically this we'll get everybody together in Bristol. It's a residential style week and lots of sessions throughout that first week, really sort of breaking the ice, getting to know each other, the basics of their role, service line, how the apprenticeship works, etc. So really helping to bed everybody in and help them feel settled on that first week. After that, we don't just throw everybody into the deep end, so there's a lot of structure and support that follows, especially in those first 3 months. So there's a really clear integration and plan and roadmap for what training looks like over the course of the apprenticeship. So within those first 3 months, there's that opportunity for on-the-job training straight away, meeting with clients from sort of second week onwards. Lots of technical training that's planned, sector-specific training, systems training, and how the firm works, and any wider market updates that need to be shared. And then aside from that initial training and integration, there's lots of training throughout the programme. So part of the qualification for the ACA qualification is completing a training file, which I won't go into too much detail about, but there are training and modules provided by ICAW on specific sector training, technical training and professional skills development too, to engage with throughout the course. We also have group learning sessions that we run, so our L&D team, but also alongside our managers of our apprentices to really help build confidence. And the idea of these is really sharing those key learning experiences and eventually stepping up and delivering those types of sessions as well to help build confidence. And another big part of our programme that we're really proud of is we run professional development weeks every year throughout the programme. So every year of an apprentices programme, they'll rejoin their cohort again, really help to build those relationships that they have, and join for a few days of technical and professional skills training. So really great opportunity to network and also upskill with the rest of their cohort. So just moving on to talk a bit more, so not just about completing the qualification, but the wider skills and opportunities that are there with our programme. So it's not just about completing the qualification, but all of the confidence that builds along the way. And in conversation with some of our apprentices recently, we were reflecting on those really key skills that are important to help you thrive in this type of role. And there was a lot of discussion about those analytical skills, relationship building with clients, resilience of going through all of those exams to complete the qualification, and that adaptability of working with so many different clients across different sectors and really understanding their needs. And those are skills that are there for you throughout your whole career, no matter what that trajectory takes. So there's a lot more to take from this programme in terms of that personal development that is also there for you. I think we also recognise that anybody who joins the firm isn't just there to do their job, but comes as a whole person to the workplace with their own interests and experiences that add to the culture. So there are a lot of opportunities to explore those interests and build confidence. So if that's joining a charity netball tournament, a quiz, a client networking event, for example, or eventually even helping to run and set up those types of events, which are really key for building confidence and building your network. Lots of our apprentices also have positions of responsibility, such as mental health first aiders. They might be in the social committee or charity committee. So really helping to stretch their skills beyond just their role, and again, building relationships along the way. So in summary, just wanted to stress this point around the support that's available in our programme, and that support network that you get as an apprentice at Bishop Fleming is really extensive. So from day one and beyond, any new joiner will have access to colleagues that have essentially walked this same path before. So both in the local office and also across different offices. We also have our people team that myself and Anna sit in, and we're really there as that dedicated resource to help guide and support and also ensure well-being of our apprentices. You'd also be joining a huge cohort of apprentices in the same position, building those connections with people who are starting alongside you. So a lot of our apprentices really appreciate that and lean on each other for support throughout the programme. And also you'll have your manager, your buddy, and those tutors that FI mentioned as well to really lean on for any other advice and that mentoring and coaching that's needed throughout too. So there's an extensive network in place to support you and anything you need along the way on that journey. So I think that's all from me in terms of highlighting that support around the programme. As I said, any questions on any of the programmes, please do ask them in the Q&A, and I'll pass over to you, Anna.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Sophie, for that summary of the opportunities we have that we give to our apprentices and what the study looks like, and also that support. I think that's so valuable to highlight that if you join us, you know, I know it can seem like a really big step, especially if you're coming straight from school or sixth form or college, but actually there is a huge amount of support available, and it's really enjoyable. So on that note, I would like to hand over to Ella, Mac and Sasha, who are 3 of our current trainees, and they're going to do this kind of panel style conversation to tell you a bit more about what their experiences have been so far. So I'll hand over to you 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. So I'm Ella. I'm based in the Plymouth office. I joined straight out of school in 2023, so I'm in my 3rd year doing the apprenticeship. When I was at school, my A-levels were geography, maths and biology. So I sort of knew I wanted to do something in the realms of maths, but didn't really know what. So I did apply to uni. I did have some offers, but the apprenticeship route seemed more and more appealing. So eventually I did choose to join Bishop Fleming. And since then I've rotated around the departments. So I started in audit and then moved into tax and then went to accountancy. In the end, I did end up choosing tax because that was my favourite one. I enjoyed the work that I was doing and I thought that's just where I wanted my career route to go. So yeah, that was what I chose. I'll hand over to Mac and Sasha.
Perfect, thank you, Ella. So I'm Mac, I'm based out of the Bristol office. I started in March 2024, so I didn't apply to apprenticeships in sixth form. So I decided to not apply. I applied to uni, but then I realised I didn't want to do that opportunity. I wanted to apply to apprenticeships instead. So I joined in March 2024 on rotation launchpad. I've done 1 year in audit and then 6 months in corporate tax, and I'm currently in accountancy. And then I think I get decided in March or April, but not too sure which one to pick yet. I think I'll choose over the Christmas break which one I feel best in. And then, yeah, so personally, I think Bishop Fleming is a great opportunity to learn, especially from other people. And when you're on site in audit, or if you're in the office when doing tax computations or accounts prep, you can really lean on other people really, and just ask them questions if you're stuck for help, or just a Teams call away, so you don't feel out of depth really at any time. So yeah, I think the support network, like what Sophie was saying, is really good. So yeah, pass on to Sasha.
Hi, I'm Sasha. So I'm in the Cheltenham office and I actually just joined this September. So in sixth form I did maths, further maths and business. So I've always been a bit more mathsy. And yeah, I think I knew for about 3 years that I wanted to do an apprenticeship. So uni wasn't something I actually ended up applying to, because I kind of just wanted to start working and making money, you know, that's always a nice thing. But yeah, I haven't started study yet actually, and I'm quite excited to. So Ella and Mac, I know you guys have obviously, you're in your 2nd and 3rd years, so you've done study. So how have you found that?
So I've done all my certificates. I'm guessing Matt's midway through them at the moment. I think it was quite daunting at the start to think, oh, I'm gonna go away from work, do some in-person tuition, learn it, and then 2 weeks later take the exam. But I think once you get there, everyone's sort of in the same boat. You're with the FI tutors, and they really are great. I know everyone's been saying it, but like truly, they are really supportive. I personally I've been struggling a little bit on some, so I've reached out to one and they've taken the time out of their week. They've sat with me on a call just to go over stuff that I've needed help with. And now I've started professionals. I actually took one on Monday. But again, like the tuition week, and you actually get a week of revision, which is great. I think just having the time away from work to truly focus and be like, okay, this is my study week this week. I'm really going to put everything into that. It's been really great for me. So I don't know if you've got anything to add on that, Matt.
Yeah, so I'm midway through certificates now, so I've done 5 out of 6 so far. I think I feel like you learn so much during actual work life that the certificates anyway are quite not easy, but I feel like they're easier than the A levels for me personally, because you're already doing so much work. It's already sort of cements in your brain, and then when you go to FI, it sort of cements it even further. So yeah, I feel like it shouldn't be too much of a step, especially certificates. I don't know about professionals. I don't know how much of a step up that is, but yeah.
Sasha, do you have anything that you think in your first few months that you've really enjoyed about being at BF?
Oh, I think something I've really enjoyed, especially I think coming out of sixth form, is kind of the freedom. So I think obviously in school, you have set lessons, set things you need to do. You come in, you have this lesson that is the same every 2 weeks. I kind of like the variety you get. So it's really interesting. 1 week you'll be working on one project, and then you have so much information in your brain about that one company or academy, since it's academy season right now, and then moving on to another one. But I think it's nice that you never actually, in a way, for me at least, I found you don't actually really leave a project until like a few weeks after. I know I was picking up review points and stuff for weeks after on one of the clients we were on. But yeah, I think something else I've enjoyed is just like everyone in the office is really friendly, like the L2s and L3s. They're all really helpful. I know when I started, I was really scared, but I think like 3.5 months in now, I finally feel like I have some footing on what I'm doing. So yeah.
Ella, I know you settled in tax now. Is it personal, corporate, and what made you decide to settle there?
So I settled in personal tax. It sort of the choice between them. It was actually quite hard because for me personally, I really did enjoy the on-site aspect of audit. I love talking to the clients. That was something that I really enjoyed doing myself. And with accountancy, I was lucky enough to sit in some client meetings, get to know some of the owners of the businesses. So I did enjoy the business advisor sort of side of that department. But in the end, tax, I'd got involved in some advisory pieces. And I think in the end, I just liked sort of the pace of tax and being able to, it's not the same as audit where it's like you're on one job for 2 weeks. I sort of liked switching up my workload, like working on a few clients each day and sort of coming back to what work I was doing and moving on. And I think that's in the end why I chose it. I just like the pace and sort of the technical aspect of the advisory side of it. So I don't know if that'll help you with your choice eventually, but personally, that was why I did it.
Yeah, I'd take that on board.
Yeah.
I think we'll hand over to Anna now for the Q&A.
Amazing. Thank you so much. That was really helpful. I think you all summarised really well kind of the path you've taken so far and how you found your journey. So I really hope for everybody watching that's been really useful. So we will now go to the Q&A, and apologies for those joining us live. We have overrun a little bit, so thank you for staying with us. If there's any questions that we're not able to cover, you are able to email our careers inbox, which is jobs@bishopfleming.co.uk, and we can cover those. But I'm just going to open the Q&A and see if there are any questions that we've had come through. Okay, so we had a question quite early on, which hopefully we've covered, which was what accountancy qualification does Bishop Fleming offer? So just to clarify, whether you join us as a school leaver or a graduate, everybody will study towards the ACA qualification. And then if you join us as a tax graduate or rotating school leaver and you settle into tax, you will also have the study of the CTA funded. So that's the joint pathway. So obviously we have covered that, but just want to make sure it's really, really secure. There's a question here about how secure is accountancy or auditing against AI. Partners, I don't know if any of you would be available to answer this question. Ria, perhaps, if you're happy to.
Yeah, no problem. So the honest answer is it's still really early days for us in terms of what AI means for the business and how we adjust. So yes, we are looking at AI tools. We are testing them out very much as we speak. But as I said, it's very early days, and it definitely doesn't take reams and reams of people out of the business. I think what we've been really mindful of as a business as well is that what we don't want is you need people to build that experience from day one. If you basically outsource that and give that to AI to actually do, then actually nobody learns. So you get to these more senior positions and you haven't learned the basics. And so we can't have that in the business. You need to work together with AI. So I think when we are going to be using it going forward, it will be very much to complement what we do as opposed to replacing what we do. So the short answer is I think you are secure.
Brilliant. That's really helpful. Thank you very much, Ria, for answering that one. So we've had a couple of other questions, and they're both actually similar to do with work experience opportunities, and then also one to do with comments. So with regards to work experience for Year 11 students, this is something that we're looking at our strategy at the moment. We have previously in Bristol worked with the Bristol Future Talent Partnership and opened up a few opportunities for a week's worth of work experience with them. And it's something that we'd really like to look at offering across our wider offices. So currently, as it stands, it's not something that we can offer in the traditional sense of a week's worth of work experience, but definitely something that we're looking at. The other thing is that we're going to be holding, as well as this webinar, some insight evenings in some of our offices. So initially it will be in Bristol and in Plymouth. I will share details following this event about those, and that will be an opportunity to come in to the respective offices, find out a lot of the information that we've covered this evening in a bit more detail, and have some kind of in-person conversations with current trainees, with partners, with members of the service lines about what a role in accountancy really looks like, and how the apprenticeship works. So hopefully that will be helpful in the interim. And then we've also got a question here about, can you do secondments via the international links that we mentioned? Ria, again, I don't know if you'd be happy to talk about how that works through being part of the Cresta network, or Len, Dan, if either of you know of anybody that has, because I believe it does happen sometimes.
Yes, it does. Yeah, it definitely happens. We've had a number of people over past years where they've gone out to Australia. So they go out to Australia. Basically, there's a busy season in Australia and a busy season in the UK, and they tend to go out to cover some of that time when they're at the busiest. So yes, there's absolutely stretch there in terms of if you want to go on secondments, that can happen. It tends to happen once you're qualified. So because it's quite an intense period with exams and you are going to college quite frequently when you're in the business, that's not the best time to go on a secondment. But actually, once you qualify, absolutely, you can go on a secondment to an international destination like Australia, or you can go on secondments to other areas of the business as well. So what we tend to find is quite a lot of people second into corporate finance, the bit we haven't talked about today, but that's the bit where you're talking about selling businesses and acquisitions and raising funds and things like that.
Amazing. Thanks, Ria. Dan, Len, is there anything that you would like to add to any of the questions that we've had so far, either around AI or around the international working piece?
No, I think Ria's covered it well.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think from my point of view, with regard to AI, is we're looking at it and thinking, in tax particularly, we're not going to be replaced by AI, but what the threat is other people or competitors who use AI really well, and so that's the way we're looking at it, is embracing it and making the most of it. but we definitely see there being a continued need for real people with tax expertise.
Okay. Amazing, lovely. Well, thank you very much to all of the speakers from Bishop Fleming this evening for joining this webinar, and thank you to you as attendees for watching, whether that's live or whether you're catching up on our socials. But hopefully it's been a really insightful opportunity for you to learn more about us and how you could start your career in accountancy. So thank you very much for joining, and look forward to hopefully seeing you as applicants later on. Thank you.